My name is David.
And my name is Jason.
And this is a special production of Discern Realities called Ramshackle Crow and the Temple of the Peerless Star.
So, listeners, we originally produced Ramshackle Crow and the Temple of the Peerless Star for our Patreon, for the Gauntlets Patreon. It was a launch thing, and it's been about a year since we launched the Patreon, which is actually really hard to believe now as I'm sitting here saying it. It's been about a year, and so we figured this would be a good time to go ahead and make Ramshackle Crow and the Temple of the Peerless Star more widely available. So, David, what is it exactly?
So this is a special compilation of all the episodes from Discern Realities that featured the initial adventure of Ramshackle Crow. It's the first 12 episodes. With just that comic strip AP section. We took it, we spliced them all together, we remastered it, and then we had some special talent come in behind us, create an original score, and do Foley sound effects to it. And the end product is fantastic. Yeah,
it's really great. I love going back and listening to it every now and then because in the beginning especially, you can tell we're very new at the comic strip AP format, having just invented it. And and so that's kind of fun. But it really picks up, especially after Ramshackle gets into the temple. You know, the way the music kicks in and just all the different things that are added. It just really, really makes it a cool experience. And the finale is so good.
Oh, it's good. It's quite the production. It does start out a little bit slow as we are figuring out our format and how we're doing everything, but it ends on such a strong note.
I agree. So, listeners, this is here for you. It was originally produced for Patreon backers. If you are not a Patreon backer of The Gauntlet, we would love your support. So consider this a pre-gift for doing that. And we will have episode 50 of Discern Realities in the feed very, very soon, as well as the Discern Realities Annual, which will also be another Patreon thing. We'll have more to say about that later.
Yeah, awesome. We would love to have your support on Patreon. Before we jump into the adventure, here's a quick message from Scablands Press.
Ramshackle Crow and the Temple of the Peerless Star is being sponsored by Scablands Press and their game, The Indie Hack. This is from Drive-Thru. The Indie Hack is a minimalist fantasy role-playing game built up from the ideas in the Black Hack that is played with pencils, paper, dice, and imagination. It takes old-school gaming and gives it an indie edge. You get heroes, magic, traps, and monsters, but the players get more control over the richness of the story. Listeners, if you're interested in hearing how the Indie Hack plays, I highly recommend our other podcast, Comic Strip AP. Slade, the author of the game, did a 12-episode series of the Indie Hack, and it is dynamite. It gives you a really good sense of how the game's core mechanic encourages and empowers the players to help the GM build up the fiction of the world you're playing in. Comic Strip AP can be found on the Gauntlet's YouTube channel or the Comic Strip AP page of gauntlet-rpg.com. To get a copy of the Indie Hack, just search for it on Drive-Thru RPG, or if you're just interested in the core mechanics, you can find the free system reference document on the Scablands website. Thanks again to Slade and Scablands for sponsoring the show. I like to kick off by having the players tell me about their character. So give me just the basics on Ramshackle Crow, his look and all that stuff.
Sure. So he has a lithe body, shifty eyes, and a hooded head and dark clothing. Those are the official from my playbook circled things that I picked out. Things I want to add to that. He's a bit older. He's probably middle-aged. Has a bit of a gray in his beard. And one more thing I want to note about him before we get rolling, I decided to write a custom alignment for him.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're springing this on me. I don't know what is this? Yeah. All right. Do tell.
So I wrote that he would have a good alignment, which is something a thief cannot typically have, but there's a blank spot for it. And his alignment statement is steal for the detriment of the wicked.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
So, as good as a thief can be, in my opinion.
I can work with that. Yeah, I can work with that. Okay. I love it. That sounds good to me. So here's what I'm thinking about for our setting for what is about to happen. I'm feeling a swords and sorcery thing. Since it's just going to be a single character for the most part, a city setting, like a great walled city state, like you might find in Conan or Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. This is going to be the city state of Alizar. Huge walls that surround the city, dense with people, set in different levels. So like there's certain districts, like the Temple District and the Merchant District and all that stuff. Different like layers and levels, like physical levels to the city where you have to take up streets that go up a little higher to get to the fancier parts of town, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And the poor people live like near the gates, right? The great walled city-state of Alizar, we're going to start in the Temple of the Peerless Star. I'll spell that just for the Peerless part for listeners so that they don't misunderstand me. Peerless is Peerless, the Temple of the Peerless Star, a star without peer, okay? This is a cult of people. Maybe not a cult, but they're a religion of people. They're now a religion of wicked people, now that I've learned your alignment, now that you've sprung that alignment thing on me. They're a temple dedicated to the worship of their god, which they believe is this particularly bright star in the sky, the Peerless Star. I haven't thought of a name of the star yet, but maybe I will in future sessions. But for now, just know that it is a star without peer. It glows bright, right? You're there to steal something in particular. What are you there to steal?
I'm there to steal the heart gemstone of their temple. They recently have taken all kinds of donations to pay for it. It was once in the possession of dwarves, but they knew that it was their stone that they needed to worship.
It was like an artifact related to their god in some way.
That's what they're ascribing it to. Okay. I think it's just their wicked hearts wanting to be greedy and taking all these people's money.
Well, let's talk about that. It's got to be more than just greed, right? I mean, next question. They're wicked. Tell me one thing that they do, like a ritual that they perform or a rite that they perform that is just really, really like shocking or just, projects wickedness.
It's a little bit more mundane than maybe you might expect. But I come from a different city, and so it's really apparent to me. In this city, they have these rituals where they will walk up to people on the street and they will like grab them and shout out sins that are in their lives and then demand penance right then. And often that penance comes in the form of monetary contributions.
So it's kind of like a moralistic, like extortion, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
I'm feeling that. So you're here to steal this gem. Okay. It's nighttime, a high holy day in the Temple of the Peerless Star, okay? It's a super important day. They have like a dome that they can retract on the temple that gives them, that's kind of like near their altar, their main altar, and they can see like it's when the Peerless Star is brightest in the sky, right? And so they retract this dome and they see the star. They're all there. I think they wear like silvery white robes, and people of this religion from neighboring communities and other worshipers have all come to participate in this high rite, right? And they're all there. They're all in their silvery white robes, and they're going to be gathering, and they're going to be at this ritual that they're doing on this high holy day when the Peerless Star is brightest in the sky. They're going to be at it for at least an hour or so, right? That's your opening here. So tell me how you're going to approach, like, just getting into the temple.
So is there, like, an obvious entrence?
There's going to be, like, a main entrance that anybody can walk through, especially if they look like they're there on, like, religious business, right?
Okay, is there, like, a side entrance as well?
Go ahead and give me a Discern Realities. I feel like maybe you might be looking for something that's not super
okay.
Apparent,
so would this have anything to do with the criminal enterprise? Because as a part of my being a human, I get +1 on DRs when it's when I'm spouting lore or discerning realities about a criminal enterprise.
Because you perceive them as like thugs and thuggery. I'll take it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then I'll go ahead and roll. Oh wow.
Oh, boxcars, nice. Yeah. All right, you're going to get 3 questions. I assume you don't have a -2 somehow.
No, I don't.
Okay. All right, so your result, what was your final result, though, just out of curiosity?
14.
Okay. Ask them in order. Or you can kind of describe your character walking around or whatever, but ask me the questions at some point.
As I'm looking for a way in, what should I be on the lookout for?
The front entrance is like a grand ceremonial entrance. They do have a more like workaday entrance where they like, take in supplies and things like that.
Yeah, getting closer to that, like, kind of workabout entrance, there might be porters or something like that. What here is not as it appears to be?
Oh, that's a good question. There are some people you've noticed who are wearing these silvery white robes who are like, they're kind of around the temple on the outside and the inside, but they're not there to worship. You can see, in fact, that kind of hidden, not hidden, but like somewhat concealed in their robes, they have weapons, they have swords, and they're clearly there for security.
Okay, all right. Working with all that in mind, what here is useful or valuable to me?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and sew this up. Find service entrance? I don't know, it's just a back entrance, essentially. Oh, we need a shipment of, like, moon twilight wine or whatever, or we need this, or we need that, or, that kind of thing. So they bring all that stuff in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you find it easily enough.
Okay, great. My plan of approach is I'm going to actually kind of chat up one of these guards, or seeming guards, one of the ones who's got a weapon. It's a high holy day, and I'm just offered to share a drink with him real quick.
Are you wearing anything? Or are you just dressed like you normally are?
I'm dressed like I normally am. I pick one that's kind of on the outskirts. Okay. And what my plan is I have poison in the cup for him.
Okay.
It is Tajit oil, which puts him into a light sleep if it is applied.
Okay, we'll say that this is a guard that's near that entrance. Okay, so this is why you might be trying to like talk him up. Okay, and so you can put him to sleep. This is a charisma roll. Defy danger, charisma.
Yeah, I was hoping he would just
take it.
I was hoping he would just go for it. It's a high holy day,
Yeah, here. Maybe, I don't know. But you're just a rando dude walking around the back entrance. I don't think so. Roll plus charisma.
All right.
Well, tell me how you do it. Let's role play it first. So he sees you and he's like, hey friend, what are you doing back here?
I say, oh, is this not the main entrance? I'm sorry, I'm new to this temple.
He's like, are you a follower of the Peerless Star?
Ah, yes, indeed I am. I'm here to celebrate the high holy day. This looks like the main entrance to the temple that I'm a part of. It's quite grand. Actually, a little bit nicer than the one where I'm from.
He looks back at the wooden door that's like the rear entrance and probably gives you like a look askance somewhat. Yeah, I think you're chatting him up. So he's like, this is the service entrance. In fact, he's like, this is where we take in supplies and things like that.
I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Well,
you'll want to find the entrance that has dozens of people streaming through it around the other side.
Dozens? Wow, dozens. We only have a dozen in the place where I'm from. Certainly, I should have no trouble finding that at all. Please, for your trouble, have a toast with me on this high holy day.
Roll plus charisma now.
8.
An 8. He's going to take it. He's going to drink it. He's like, oh, this is fine wine. He says, what is this? Where'd you get it? Is this from the city? Is this a vintage from where you are from, friend?
Like, no, this is just the standard Twilight wine that all the temples carry.
He's like, it's very fine.
A little bit sweeter maybe than you're used to.
He's like, yes, perhaps it does taste sweeter, but I'm in a good mood, so maybe I'm.
It may. Yeah. I sometimes spice my wines up a little bit more. Maybe that's what you're tasting.
He's like, and he starts to get a little drowsy and a little like, he just kind of like slumps down and he eventually passes out. Very dark in this alleyway, or this sort of like back entrance, kind of like, there's like an alley that kind of is adjacent to it. And there's no one around that you're aware of. You just see the bright light of the moon and the not quite as bright, but quite bright light of the Peerless Star. And what your character doesn't realize, this is table knowledge, not in character knowledge. What your character doesn't realize is that there is a beggar. There's a beggar who's like kind of huddled up in some old rags, who is watching you as you slip through the rear entrance of the temple. And this beggar, he's watched all this go down. He's watched all this transpire. He's watching you slip into the temple, and he's I don't know what he's going to do, but you did not go in completely undetected. So you have just slipped into the Temple of the Peerless Star, and this back portion of the temple is pretty plain. You see a couple of rooms with simple wooden doors. The stone is very plain. It has no like ornate carvings or anything like that. This is a really, really practical utilitarian sort of space. There are 2 rooms in this, like along this hallway that you're in, one to the left and one to the right. At least one of these rooms is probably where they keep stores. And then the other room is most likely, like an office of some sort, right? You're not in the main, like like sept yet, where they do all the ritual and stuff. So you've just slipped in. What do you do?
Sure. So I'm going to try and figure out where they're keeping this precious gemstone. There's probably going to be some area that they keep their shrine materials that's tucked away kind of in the back before they bring it out for the processions and things like that. So I'm looking for that.
Okay, sounds good. Give me a Discern Realities roll.
8.
Okay, so you're going to get one question from the Discern Realities list. Where do you want to start your search? Like, just ask me the question whenever you're ready.
Right. All right. So I'm ducking into that office and taking a peek around there. And what should I be on the lookout for here?
So to the extent that this gem is extremely valuable, they probably keep it somewhere under lock and key, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a chance that that key might be in this office. If it's going to be anywhere, this might be the place, right? And in fact, as you go in, you see a very simple stone room, but there's a rather grand wooden desk that doesn't really match the otherwise simple and spare decor of this room. It's large, beautifully lacquered, has lots of ornate woodwork. It doesn't look like anything particularly like of a religious nature. It looks like just something that they probably also acquired through their extortion. There's a wardrobe, a bed, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm running my hands
What do you do?
running my hands over the desk, and I'm thinking to myself the first signs of their opulence. And I start pulling drawers open, rifling through it, looking for...
Yeah. Give me another Discern Realities in this room, just to search the whole room, and you get a +1 for following up if you do that.
All right. So, 9.
9. Okay, you're going to get one more question.
All right. What here is useful or valuable to me?
You don't actually find a key of any sort. It would be really easy, right? It'd be really great if there was just like a key to a safe. Then you just have to find the safe, right? But you do, instead, you find some correspondence. It appears to be a letter to the high priest of this temple from someone who just signs their name with an initial, like a single letter. And so you can't really determine like who it's from. It just says F. It appears that they're having a correspondence about where to keep this heart gem, right? Like, should our temple keep it? Should your temple keep it? This appears to be part of that correspondence. And one of the things you learn is that they've decided to go ahead and keep it in the temple you're in, because this temple has an underground vault.
Underground vaults. Great. All right. So I'm going to proceed by going back out into that utilitarian kind of hallway and begin my search for a way into the underground area. I think that the underground is probably used a lot by thieves, so this might be something that I could get a +1 for searching for because of my human characteristics of being a professional.
Yeah, possibly. So you go back out into the hallway. You actually hear someone behind you. The hallway itself is a grand total of about 30 or 40 paces in length, right? And it's not well lit, a single sconce on the wall, and so it's just casting some light in immediately around you. But you hear some sound, like coming from the direction of outside, like from where you entered the temple. And you see like a vague shadowy shape as well, like just beyond the full illumination of the torchlight in the sconce. What do you do?
Okay, is the figure moving in or moving out of the...
They appear to be just kind of like lurking and lying in wait.
Okay. I think that I look like one of the guards, at least in my mind. So I'm just going to try and play it cool and ignore him unless he tries to come inside, in which case I'll try and engage him as if I'm a guard. Okay,
that sounds good. So he doesn't appear to be making a move. Are you making it really obvious that you see him, or
no? I'm mostly just
her, whoever it is.
Yeah, I'm mostly just ignoring them unless they try and come inside. I'm too busy acting like I belong here, and I'm looking for something that I dropped or lost.
I'll buy that. So you can continue down the hallway to search for the underground vault, but you are now aware that there's someone skulking in the shadow, right?
Right. Are they, following me now, or have they stopped in the doorway, or...?
No, it does appear they're following you, but they're keeping a safe distance.
Okay. I'm going to get around a corner and lose them and see if they try and catch up.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, there are a couple of like turns here in the back of the temple. So you're just gonna try to hide, basically.
I'm gonna try and do that maneuver where you step into a shadow and then your bad guy runs past and you grab them.
Okay, got it. We see you, you slip into the shadow as you've described, and you can kind of hear their footsteps stepping down the hall. And you can even see from around the corner, you can see their shadow like lengthening in the sconce light, right? You know they're getting close.
Getting closer, and I start to pull out my short sword. It's darkened steel, so it doesn't reflect the light.
You're kind of hiding around the corner, and you can see them. At a glance, this person is covered in really like filthy rags, and you can't quite get a good look at their face or anything, but they clearly look like a beggar. Like they don't look like high society or whatever. What do you do?
I'm gonna go with my initial plan because I'm still real nervous about them following me. Having a tail is just begging to get caught, so I'm still gonna grab them.
All right, give me a defy danger plus dexterity to see if you can sneak up and grab them.
So I got a 7, plus my dexterity is 2, so I'm at 9.
As you've described, you walk up and give me just a little bit of fiction. Like, what's your approach here?
Right, so I'm in the darkness, and they're doing this slow walk past, because they can't see me anymore, so their head's on a swivel, and I've got my sword out, and I get right behind them, and then I put my hand over their mouth and start to pull them back.
And that works just as described. But as you do so, they seem a little surprised at first. They kind of like give you a little tap, like on your thigh, for you to look down. And if you look down, you'll see that they also have a little needle poised right on the fleshy bit of your thigh. You have to imagine it's poisoned, right? That's also when you realize that the person you're grabbing is a woman. I think you probably maybe just intuited that it was a man. I kind of thought it might be a man. It's a woman.
Right. Yeah. All right. I whisper in her ear, "If I take my hand off your mouth, you can't scream. All right? Not if you're okay."
She nods.
All right. So I start to slowly take my hand off of her mouth, and meanwhile, I'm trying to slide my arm down to maybe if she tries to stab me with the poison needle, I'll knock it away. But I'm gonna try and talk to her about this.
What do you say?
So, what are you doing here? Why are you following me?
She's like, I could ask you the same question. What are you doing in here?
Well, clearly I'm a guard here.
She says, clearly you're not. I watched you knock the guard out and take his garb.
All right, so that kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't know anyone saw me do that. Well, what I'm doing here isn't any of your business. What do you want? Are you a zealot for this awful cult?
She's like, whatever I am doing here is none of your business as well, so why don't you just let me go and we'll go our separate ways?
Well, you seem to be following me, so if I let you go, are you going to go your separate way following me, or are you going to go...
I'm not following you because I'm interested in what you're doing. I'm following you because you've created an opportunity. I've been casing the place out for several days now, looking for a way in.
What are you looking for in here?
She's like, why should I tell you?
Well, how about we make a deal? Maybe we're looking for the same thing.
Well, then tell me, what are you looking for?
How about you tell me first?
She's like, I don't really want to be here very long. You don't exactly smell great.
I could say the same for you. You're in rags. At least I have a pristine uniform.
She's like, that you stole, but never mind. Details. She says, I'm here seeking something. I'm fairly certain it's not what you're seeking, since the information that I have is known to very, very few people.
Well, I'll make you a deal. You tell me what you're looking for, and I'll tell you what I'm looking for.
She says, I'm here seeking out a treasure that I believe that these star people have. An egg that is said to, the shell of which is mirrored glass. That's what I'm here for.
Interesting. I can't say that I've heard of this.
And what are you here for?
I can't say that I've heard of them having possession of such a thing, but if they do, it will likely be in the same place as the thing that I am looking for, which is their sacred star gemstone.
Gems. That's what I... Very good, very good. I I'm impressed that you're here for more than just emptying out the offering plate, so to speak. She's like, I wouldn't, by the look of you, I wouldn't think that you had much ambition. What's your name?
Me? Not have ambition? Me? Please, woman.
She's like, if you're judging me by my state of dress, then you have grossly misunderstood the situation. This is a disguise. What's your excuse?
I am also in a disguise, thank you very much. And seeing as you're such a masterful thief of yourself, perhaps you can appreciate that you are the only one who saw me.
Well,
gracious,
we should at least get to know one another. What's your name?
Gracious woman, haven't you ever heard of Ramshackle Crow?
Ramshackle Crow. Is that the name you were born with? Are you from the venerable Crow clan, Ramshackle? Are you Ramshackle the Third, Ramshackle the Fourth?
No, I have no such great lineage, my lady. Perhaps you do, but I merely took this as a mantle, as a way to strike fear into the hearts of my enemies.
Well, I'm utterly terrified, that's for sure.
And who is my lady?
My name is Urbina Castafiel, from the Castafiel family. Perhaps you've heard of them.
Can't say that I have.
She's like, well, you'll hear about them eventually. She's like, so, all right then, pleasantries aside, shall we get about our separate business?
Well, do you suppose that both of these items are likely held in the same place?
Perhaps. Tell me what you know.
Well, I know that there is a vault, and I know that this vault is hidden, and I know in a general area where this vault is hidden, and if you agree to work with me, we will end up there, and maybe I'll share the information in advance.
Go ahead and roll parlay.
This doesn't look good. Yeah, we're looking at 5.
5. She says, oh, a vault. Yes, that's right, a vault. She says, sure, we can work together. She's like, maybe you should drop your sword, please. I'm going to take over for your missed roll. Mark experience. You drop your guard just a little bit, and right when you do, she sticks you with her little needle, and I think you pass out.
Oh, that's not good.
And then as you slump down to the ground and you realize that you've been betrayed, you see now that, in fact, she's, as you kind of see through her, in the dim light, you can kind of see through her smudged face that she has, like, very, very fine, lovely features, and she has a certain look of nobility, right? Like she doesn't look hungry. She looks like, slim but well-fed, hale. And her manner of speech, too, indicates that she's not, like, a low-born person. But she kind of, like, she helps you down to the ground as you begin to lose consciousness, and she's like, and she kind of strokes your cheek a little bit, and she says, good night, Ramshackle Crow. Sleep well. Perhaps we shall meet again. And then you pass out.
So, something that I think is worth noting. I am a thief who has decided to... when I made my character, I decided that I was going to have my poison be the oil of Tajit, which is the sleeping poison, and that means that I have an immunity to it.
Oh, okay. All right. So there's a couple of ways we could handle this. I think the cheesy thing would be for me to say, oh, well, it wasn't the oil of Tajit, it was something else, but that's bullshit. So I will say that, how about this? How about we pick up with your character, like, only pretending to be knocked out? And then
I think that sounds great.
Now that was the result of a 6- roll. I think you're still being penalized in the sense that you did not convince her to join you, and it's actually going to be somewhat problematic for her to be, like, moving ahead of you in the temple, right? So.
Yeah, I imagine so. Like, that's not the situation that I wanted to be in. But Ramshackle had to play along with that, or else, it could have gotten a lot worse for him.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's pick up from there. You open your eyes. How long do you wait?
I wait till I hear her move down the hall, and then I crack one eye open, and I see that she's not around. And, I sigh to myself, that was a close one. I think I want to kind of rack my brain and try and find out more about this family.
Oh, okay, that sounds good.
See if I know anything about them.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead and roll Spout Lore.
Okay, so I got a 9.
A 9. So I have to tell you something interesting.
Yes.
The Castafiels are a wealthy family of adventurers. Okay. They're rumored to be the sort of adventurers that travel to other planes of existence to fight demons. How do you know that?
Yeah, so I'm laying on the ground and I'm racking my brain trying to think where I've heard that name before. And I think that I've actually, in some of my previous adventures, I've actually tried to steal from this cult that was a demon-worshipping cult. One time I was around the corner and I heard a couple of them discussing that cursed family and their slaying and attacking our brethren and gods in reference to the demons.
Yeah, no, good. All right, awesome. All right, well, what do you do?
Well, now that I know that she's part of a demon hunting family, I probably want to avoid her at all costs, because that sounds really, really dangerous. I'm going to proceed with my original plan of trying to find that gemstone and make my way down to where I think that the vault is. So
I'm gonna give you a carryover from your last Discern Realities, since you're looking for the vault.
Okay. So
for the +1,
I'm doing another DR.
Yeah, just describe like where are you looking or like where are you proceeding?
Right. So she went down the hallway. I don't necessarily want to follow her, but I don't feel like there's another path exactly. So I'm going to be kind of at a distance following her. Hopefully I don't see her because I don't want her to see me. And I'm going to be trying to descend. So if I find stairs that go down or something like that.
Perfect. Go ahead and roll with a +1.
8, 9, 10. Yay.
Awesome. All right. Well, so you're proceeding down the hall, keeping a safe distance from Urbina. Are you keeping her in sight at all, or are you just letting her go completely ahead?
I'm trying to keep enough distance between us that she won't see me. So if I see her, I quickly step back.
Okay. Well, ask your questions whenever you wish. You're making your way down the hall, and you're still in the rear portion of the temple. You're not up to the main sept area where the big ritual is going on for the evening, right? Do you have a question for me yet?
Yeah, what here is not as it appears to be.
That's good. In fact, you are moving along the hall, and there are sconces on the wall, so you have enough light. You see, you're a thief, you're accustomed to this sort of thing. You see a classic, like, false wall. Like, it's like mason stone, but, like, there's a part that's, like, just a slightly different shade than the rest of it.
I know what this is.
Indeed.
Okay, great. Then I'm gonna be messing with that wall, looking for sconces that might look like there's a little less dust on them, because a lot of times people just like to make these sconces the triggers that open these walls. I don't know why.
Who knows,
right? I feel like it's not that clever. I feel like it's a little too obvious. But then again, I'm also a master thief.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and ask her. You have another question, right? You have 2 more.
Yeah. What here is useful or valuable to me?
Yeah. In fact, you're right. Across from that wall, there is a sconce that clearly has, like, if you know what you're looking for, you see like a hinge.
Yeah. I'm like, this is too easy, and I reach up and I pull that sconce.
Okay, very good. And in fact, the wall kind of like depresses inward, like it's about big enough for one person to go in, and slides to the left, allowing you to go inside.
Okay, so I'll hold on to my last question and proceed down that.
Yeah. So there are some steps that are going down. Or there's a little like kind of. Not a landing, but like just a little ledge, like just inside the door, and then the stairs that go down, right? The stairs go down to a landing and then turn directions and continue going down, right?
Okay.
So you're making your way down?
Yes.
Okay. You get to the landing, and there are not any torches lit down here, and so you're losing light. Do you have any adventuring gear?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead and give me a use of adventuring gear, and you can have a torch.
Okay. So, I've got a torch lit now.
Okay, awesome. Do you want to spend that last question before you get to the bottom of the stairs?
Yeah, I want to know what should I be on the lookout for as I'm going down these stairs.
Yeah, so as you're going down the stairs, you kind of hear some noise coming up from below, but it's kind of a muted noise. It's a noise of something like banging and clanging around, but it's kind of muted. But whatever it is, there's something down there, essentially, is what I'm getting at.
Is it like really loud and like sounds hostile, or
no? It sounds like a hatch or a lid, like kind of clanging down, like.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
All right, gotcha. Yeah.
And you hear it a couple times. Like if you stop and listen, you hear it like every 30 or 40 seconds, a few times, and then it goes silent.
All right, so I get to the bottom of the stairs. I've got my torch. What do I see?
At the bottom of the stairs, you are met with a door. This is not a simple wooden door. It is an iron door, and the iron has been worked to have like kind of an image in bas relief of a star. Okay, it's probably the Peerless star that they worship, but it's a stylized, multi-pointed star that's on this door. What do you do?
Yeah, so I had just heard some clinking and clanking on the other side of the door, so I'm imagining that's probably the vault. I don't know for sure, but it could be. So I gotta get to the other side of this door. But it really seems like the kind of door that would be trapped, would have some kind of booby trap on it. So I gotta make sure that it's clear before I just, turn the handle and let myself in. So I'm kind of getting on my hands and knees and looking into the lock and looking at the door from different angles to see if it shimmers from some kind of magical, or if it's, got a tripwire or pressure plate or anything like that I can detect.
Okay, go ahead and roll Trap Expert.
All right, so I got a 9.
Okay. On a 9, I believe you get to ask one question, 2 questions?
Just the one, I believe. Is there a trap here, and if so, what triggers it?
There is a trap here. In fact, it's a pressure plate trap. You were correct to look for that. It's right at the, it's very, very small, and it would be right as you stepped into the room if you're not careful.
Okay, all right. So, I see that when I'm on my hands and knees. I can see it through the crack in the door. I actually, have a little bit of powder that I, sprinkle on the ground, and I blow it, and as it goes across, it kind of goes over the top of this pressure plate and really makes it obvious to me. So I know to look for that whenever I'm going through this door. I'm going to try it and see if the door's locked. If it's not, let's see if it's locked.
The door is locked, but if you can unlock it in quick enough time, you can avoid anybody hearing you or possibly coming down the stairs, right? And just step over that pressure plate. So.
Okay, all right. Well, let's try and crack this door.
Yeah, so you roll tricks of the trade for that.
All right, and I got an 11.
Awesome. Yeah. Describe getting in easily.
Yeah. So I know the pressure plate's there. I stand up and I kind of open my guard's uniform's jacket and reach inside and pull out my nice little trusty set of tools. And just faster than someone else could maybe, snap 3 times, I've got that lock open. No problem. The door's open too. It didn't even make a squeak because I actually oiled the hinges a little bit just to make sure. That's, what any master would do. And then I just give a light step over top of that pressure plate and I'm in the room.
When you get inside the room, you find yourself it's a circular room that has 2 corridors going connecting off of it. So if you were to look kind of top down at this room and the corridors, it would look kind of like an L, but with a little bulge at the corner. So there's a circle, and then there's 2 corridors, one going off to the north and the other going off to the east. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there's also a door, a simple wooden door set in the wall about about halfway across the perimeter of this circular room, from the door that you entered in. So,
okay. All right, then. There's no one around? Are there, torches lit or anything like that illuminating it, or am I just seeing this by the light of my own torch?
It's just the light of your own torch.
Okay. In that case, I just heard that one door open and close, I think, because that seems like the only thing in here that would be making noise.
In fact, if you move your torch around, you'll see on the floor as well that there is a large circular metal grate on the floor. Okay, so it's about maybe the room itself is probably like about maybe like 30 feet in diameter, something like that. And then this grate in the middle is about 10 feet in diameter, like in the center. Okay, so it's like a metal grate that is set into the floor of this circular room.
Oh, okay. So maybe that was what I heard. I'm gonna walk closer to that grate and see what I can see through it.
Yeah, so you just like kind of flash your torchlight down there and check it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do Discern Realities.
All right, so I got the middle result. So one question. What should I be on the lookout for?
As you're kind of like looking down with your torch and kind of seeing what you can see, you actually see something so the torchlight is like kind of shining down inside, but you see like kind of in the perimeter of the torchlight from where you can see it, you see something that kind of break the light a little bit as if it's like moving through the light, but just out of the where you can see it though.
Oh, so there's something down there.
Yeah, there's something there. It kind of like just kind of blocked the light a little bit as it passed through, but you couldn't quite get a good look.
Okay. Did it seem like it was like big or couldn't really?
Yeah, it seemed pretty big. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not in love with that. Let's not go down the creepy hole. Instead, let's go check out that other door. Let's go see what that's about. Is it
sure? Yeah, it's just a simple wooden door. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Just a real simple wooden door. It's got a lock and a little door and a door handle. Real just plain.
Okay. Well, let's see if this one's locked. I don't think this one's trapped. It doesn't look important enough to be trapped, but
it is locked. But it's but messing with as you mess with the lock, nothing happens. But yeah, it's definitely locked.
Okay. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and try and pop that door open too. Then.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll.
Oh no! I got a 5.
Okay, so as you are fiddling around with the lock, trying to pop it open, you hear you didn't hear the steps in time, but you hear the metal door that you came in. You hear like a chunk and like a as the door is kind of sliding open. Someone's coming into the room. You'll get a glimpse of who's coming in before they actually come in, right? It's Urbina Castafiel, the woman who previously you had encountered, who had followed you into the temple and who tried to knock you out with Tagit oil. It's Urbina Castafiel. Now, here's the thing, though. You know about that pressure plate trap just inside the room?
Yeah.
And she may not. What do you do?
Oh, man. No, she was trying to knock me out. Fuck her. Like,
wow. Okay. All right.
No, I can't do it.
So you are going to warn her or not warn her?
It's like Sophie's Choice.
Is it?
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah, I'll tell her.
What do you say?
Okay, so I come over cool, calm, collected, and I gently push back on the door and I say, hold on 1 second.
But what do you mean, hold on 1 second? Who is Ramshackle? Is that you?
Yes, it's me. Haha, I bet you didn't expect to see me here.
She's like, well, I had a suspicious feeling, but I didn't think you would... I thought I'd let you go far enough ahead of me. I didn't think you'd be right here in the room. Let me in, please?
All right, milady, but be careful to watch your step. There is a trap just on the other side of this door.
She's like, oh, very good catch. You'll see at this point as she steps into the room that she's no longer wearing like the tattered robes of the vagrant person that she was trying to pretend to be. Now she's in kind of adventuring gear or adventuring outfit, right? She has like a vest and a shirt and like traveling pants and boots and that sort of thing, right? She probably just looks like she just cast off the tattered robes, right?
Sure.
She comes in and she says, well, this looks like the place. What do you think?
I should think so. mind the pit over there. There's something down there, I'm not quite sure what. So, can we be friends now that you've tried and failed to poison me, and I've successfully helped you across this dangerous threshold?
She says, I do have to admit I find you most intriguing. I certainly didn't expect you to be able to defeat my Tagit oil. How did you manage that?
Tricks of the trade, milady. A true master never reveals their secrets.
There may be something to you after all. You might be an uncut, slightly cloudy diamond in the rough, so to speak.
Your compliments flatter me.
Oh, good. I meant to. She walks over to the grate, and she looks down, and she says, what do you think is down there?
I don't know, but I saw something moving, and I've got no reason to go down there, do you?
She's like, well, I'm looking for something that may or may not be kept in the vault, if this is the vault. And she looks, and she says, but I have to imagine that down one of these ways is probably what you're looking for. And she turns and she says, look, I'm willing to work with you, but only under the condition that if we find your Heartstone gem, then you have to help me find my mirrored egg. And if we find the mirrored egg first, then I will help you find the Heartstone gem. But in any case, once we're finished. That's it.
Oh, no holding hands and running off into the sunset?
Tempting though it is, she says as she looks you up and down.
Yeah, as I leer with my, yellow teeth.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't seem too impressed, but she is kind of secretly impressed that you managed to defeat her poison, right? She says, so then, where shall we start?
Do you think that your treasure is down that pit? Because if we have to go down there, I'd rather get it over with sooner rather than later.
She's like, I don't have any reason to necessarily think it is, but I do think it's a possibility. I should tell you a little bit more about what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an egg that looks like mirrored glass, but this is not something that was constructed by human hands. This is an actual egg. It's an egg of a rare serpent known as the Starlight Serpent, and I happen to think that possibly the Temple of the Peerless Star has one of these specimens, and possibly one of these eggs.
So you're talking about trying to steal an egg from a nest from a giant serpent that
I didn't say it was a giant serpent, but it is in fact a giant serpent.
Of course it's a giant serpent. What else? What other kind of serpent would lay such precious eggs?
Now, I don't know anything about serpents, but I do know that, generally speaking, this serpent is a big one.
Well, I know there's something big and moving down the hole, so that's probably your serpent. I don't know if the nest is down there or not, but I imagine it probably is.
And she kind of walks over to the one of the wall, and she kind of leans up against the wall and kind of crosses her arms and says, "I'll let you take the lead. Where do we go, oh captain, my captain?"
I like it when you call me that.
She's like, she rolls her eyes.
Yeah. Well, since we're going to try and steal something from a dangerous creature, let's put that as the second part of our foray. Let's go ahead and let's go down this passageway, indicating the east one.
She's like, all right. And then she heads down there with you. Mechanically, I think Urbina will be a hireling.
Okay.
Her stats, and you can note this whenever you have time, her stats are going to be, she has Loyalty 0, she has Burglar 2, and Warrior 1.
I'm moving down the hall. Is it a broad hall? Is it a narrow hall? Is it a dark hall? Is there a light?
At a glance, there are a couple of torches, like sconces on the wall of torches, so it's lit. So you can see fairly well. The hall is probably not wide enough for two people to walk abreast, or it would be wide enough, but it's not, like if you got into a fight or something, you wouldn't be able to pull out your weapons two abreast. You'd have to be you have to be in single file. But it is taller than you might have thought. It's probably like a good maybe 15 feet tall, like the walls and then up to the ceiling. It's a very straight passageway. There's no twisting or turning. And the thing that sticks out to you is placed about 2/3 up along the wall on both the left and right side are circular metal grates on hinges that open outwards. Okay, and they're spaced. They look like they're spaced, like maybe every 10 or 20 feet along the walls on both sides.
Okay, and how big did you say they were?
These circular metal grates are probably about like maybe 4 feet in diameter.
Noticing them, I kind of turn to Robina, and you don't suppose those are for giant serpents to get here and there, do you?
She's like, well, it's certainly not for ventilation purposes, considering how disgustingly fetid the air is down here. Perhaps you should grab a torch and have a look.
We'll leave the hatches to their own hatching kind of ways. Let's just move down this passageway as quietly as we can.
She says, after you.
So I'm just proceeding down. Every time I get near one of the grates, I duck very comically low and sidle underneath of it.
Well, they're up fairly high anyway, so you'd have to just hunker down a little bit. But yeah,
it doesn't matter. I'm getting as low to the ground as I can, avoiding them.
Nice. Okay, good. Yeah.
Ramshackle has a thing about snakes, and especially about giant snakes. So he's not in love with that. Urbina's probably just watching me and walking very calmly down the middle of the passageway, but Ramshackle doesn't care. So we're proceeding down this hallway. I'm keeping an eye out for traps, just in case, but mostly I'm keeping an eye out for...
In what way? What are you doing, to keep an eye out? Are you doing anything specific, or?
Well, I mean, aside from, eyes on the grates, I've got one eye on the grates and one eye on the ground, and it's just a constant head motion, and whenever I'm getting close to the ground on these little ducking excursions underneath the grates, I'm keeping an eye out for tripwires or pressure plates or things that seem to be sticking up off the ground.
Sounds good. Go ahead and do Trap Expert.
I got a 10.
So you're proceeding along. You can go and ask the questions as you wish.
Yeah. So, is there a trap here? If so, what triggers it?
There is. So the hallway is about maybe 200 paces, not quite that long, maybe about 150 paces or so, in length. And about halfway down the hall, you do, in fact, see the telltale signs of a pressure plate. How do you know there's a pressure plate there?
I think it's just, whenever I'm ducking low to the ground, I can see that it's slightly raised over the rest of the very, very smooth cobbled. What does the trap do when activated?
You see the pressure plate, and you're looking around, and you'll notice that in the ceiling above you, there are two narrow slots that run the length of the width of the hall on the ceiling, and they're spaced such that it's pretty obvious what happens is if you press the pressure plate, a pair of walls will drop down and seal you off from front and back.
Oh, okay.
And then bad things probably happen once those walls drop.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. And third question: what else is hidden here?
That's a good question. So you're looking around, and you mentioned that you were keeping an eye on both the grates and the floor, right?
Yeah.
You will see very briefly what appears to be the serpent moving behind the grates. So the grates have they appear to have some sort of almost like a little shaft within the wall, right? And because in the glint of your torch light, you see what appears to be silvery scales, sliding by very briefly, as if the serpent were just now sliding by you.
Okay, I nearly drop my torch, and I slide down the wall, so I'm kind of sitting and break out in a cold sweat, oh, I think I saw it.
She's like, Urbina says, I saw it too, and that would appear to be the serpent. You were correct. Good job, Ramshackle. I suppose we should hurry.
Yeah, let's do that. There's a pressure plate up here. Watch out. I pull out a small pouch of a fluorescent powder, and I actually make a little circle around the pressure plate. I generally do this in areas where I think I'm gonna have to maybe make a hasty exit, and I don't want to accidentally step on it if I'm having to run back this way. So let's watch out for that, and let's keep going.
Indeed. Urbina steps around the pressure plate. She's also feeling a little more nervous now, I think. You can kind of see that her eyes are darting around a little more nervously than before, having confirmation that, in fact, there is a serpent crawling around in the walls of this dungeon area, this lowered area beneath the temple. But she proceeds forward right behind you.
Ugh, giant snakes. Yeah, that's not awesome.
So you and Urbina have made your way toward the end of this long passage, and you find yourself at a door. It's a very similar door to the door that led to this subterranean portion. It is iron. It has a decorative star carved in, like, or sort of worked into it in bas relief. A very, like, sort of stylized 5-pointed star, a single iron door. It has a handle and a lock mechanism. What do you do?
Okay, so we checked the last one for traps. We better check this one as well, because the last one was trapped.
She's like, you are very brilliant, Ramshackle.
I don't need this from you right now, Urbina. There's a giant snake back there, and...
No, you have a logic. The way your logic flows, your mind, it's very impressive to watch.
Now I can't tell if you're patronizing me or not, Urbina, but I'm going to take it as a compliment and say thank you, milady.
You're very welcome.
Are you going to help me check for traps or what?
She says, well, what if I told you this wasn't really, my specialty?
What do you mean? Aren't you here being a thief stealing things?
Yes, I am. But, I've never picked a lock before. And I've certainly never... I wouldn't know what to look for traps. I don't mind saying it. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses.
You are utterly useless.
Oh, am I?
Well, I don't know how you would have made it this far if you can't pick a lock or find a trap.
Perhaps I have other tricks up my sleeve.
I certainly hope so. And I start getting on my hands and knees to check for traps.
She says normally there'd be a 10-foot pole, right? I don't think I have one of those.
That's amateur work. No one uses a 10-foot pole anymore.
Well, so then how do we do it? Show me how.
All right, come down here. So we get on our hands and knees, and I take some of that powder that I was using before, and I run a line of it right along the edge of the door, and I start to blow it underneath the door to see if it catches on anything or shows anything. Typically, this would show where a plate would be if there was one, or it might even show if there's a really thin wire. Sometimes it'll catch on the wire.
This is interesting. Yeah, you can go ahead and roll Trap Expert if you want.
Okay. 7. Is there a trap here? If so, what triggers it?
There's a very, very thin piece of wire, like you suspected might be the case, drawn along the ground. It's very, very close to the ground, just a millimeter, right? It's very, 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 very fine and very, very carefully drawn along the bottom. And so stepping on that or molesting that wire in any way will trigger the trap. And again, as you expected, you can see it because the powder settles on it. Right?
Okay, good. And I point to it. There.
She's like, and she gets down and she's looking, and she looks at you and she says, you are very good.
I do my best. Well, let's try this door, see if it's locked. Maybe they left this one open.
Chunk, 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 chunk. No, they didn't.
Of course not. All right, well, I guess you get your next lesson. And
picking locks, very good. Show me, do show me how this is done.
Yeah, so I kind of roll my eyes at her because I'm pretty sure she's just patronizing me. She probably even knows how to do this. I don't know. She's a little bit insufferable. I pull out my tools. I've got the typical lock-picking tools, and I start to stick them in. And I'm like, you've got to push up the tumbler and then move on to the next one, and then when you get them all, you can rotate it and hopefully open the door. We'll see about that.
All right, go ahead and roll Tricks of the Trade.
Sweet. 12.
Awesome. Go ahead and just narrate how you guys get in.
I show her it's exactly as I described. I push all the tumblers and then I give it a deft turn, and you hear the good rolling sound of the cylinder in there as it pulls the lock mechanism out. And then I pull the door open and I say, and be sure to mind the wire.
She's like, and she sort of makes a little motion, like, pointing at her eye, like, got it, right?
Good. After you, milady.
She steps in. Inside the room, it's a circular room, about half the size of the room that the two corridors were connected to. Inside the room, like I said, circular room, there are several like stacked up crates and boxes and chests kind of arranged around the room. It looks like maybe a sort of a storage. It's a little unclear, but
So it doesn't look like the place where you would keep your valuables.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it did have a trap and a locked door. I mean, if you were looking for the heart gem, it definitely could be in there, right?
Yeah. Okay. Urbina, would you start on the left and I'll start on the right, and we'll see what we can find in these.
She says, she's going around and she says, a lot of these crates, they've been nailed shut. Do you have a crowbar or something?
Yes, I believe I do. Hold on. And I have like a leather wrap, and I just have a bunch of tools in there, and I unwrap it and see what I've got in there. Yes, I do. Right here.
And she takes it, and she begins to pop open crates.
Good.
What do you do?
Yes, I'm checking inside of the chests, and, she's working from the left, I'm working from the right, and we'll find what we can find in these.
Yeah, sounds good. Good and roll Discern Realities.
Yeah, I got the middle result, so what here is useful or valuable to me?
You find a chest, like a really lovely, like, lacquered cherry wood chest with brass fittings and decoration. And you recall the gem that you're looking for actually originally belonged to a clan of dwarves, correct?
Yes.
And I think this chest is actually burned with the symbol of that dwarven clan. What is that symbol?
A great forge hammer. And then embossed behind it is a flame.
Nice. Yeah, so this is probably what you came to get.
Fantastic. And is it locked?
Yes, it is locked.
Of course. Is it small enough to carry?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it would probably add, like, one weight.
Okay.
So Urbina comes up to you and she says, is that what we came to get?
I certainly hope so. I don't want to take the time to tamper with this delicate mechanism here. I don't know what's inside, and I can do it much better in my workshop. I'm just going to take the whole thing.
She says the rest of these crates just have bolts of silk. She says, I found some pots, things like that. Some dried provisions.
Well, nothing terribly useful to us then. Let's get out of here before that snake comes back.
And then I think she looks at the, along the walls. This circular room also has a couple of those round metal grates, right? And she looks at them and she says, yes, I think we best get out of here. And she carefully, stepping over the silver thread, or the little thread that was the trap trigger, she makes her way back in the direction that you guys came from.
We were going to proceed back into the middle of the room and then proceed along the other corridor, and hopefully we'll find an egg and we won't find a snake.
Indeed not.
Great.
So you're walking down the hall. Urbina has decided to kind of take the lead as you guys make your way back. All the traps are there. You guys know where the traps are, and she knows where to step.
Right. I mean, I'm holding this chest. It's, if anything's coming down the way, I want her in front so she can have a weapon out.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you're kind of going after the thing she came to get to now, right? So I think she's just sort of naturally taking the lead right now. Questions. What are your thoughts about Urbina at this point?
So,
like, just as you see her kind of like stepping ahead, and I just like to get a little bit of like insight into what you're thinking.
Yeah. So honestly, now that Ramshackle has the thing that he came for, he doesn't feel like he needs to stick around that bad. But at the same time, he kind of believes Urbina. He kind of believes that she doesn't quite know what she's doing here, and he feels like a little bit like protective of her. Because she, like, tried to poison him and failed, and then would have stepped on a trap, and then didn't know how to pick a lock, and he's kind of feeling like maybe he needs to take her under his wing, but at the same time, he feels she's a little bit insufferable and a little bit pretentious.
I'd like to know a little bit more about, like, kind of where Ramshackle came from. Like, what was it like in your early career, right?
So, how Ramshackle, I guess, like, got his start is, he was a cut purse. He was 8 years old. He was an orphan. He didn't have anyone, and there was this man who was kind of running an orphanage, but not really. It was more like he was using all of these orphan children to steal things, and that was how they got to stay. And so he's bringing them up in this craft of being a thief.
What was his name?
His name was Cat's Paw Patterson.
Oh, that's a good name. Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I think he was raising these kids to be thieves, and then one day, he got caught, and he got hung, and so from then on, the orphans were on their own, but fortunately, I was, developed enough that I could, in my craft, that I could make my own living, until one day, I encountered another thief who captured me, doing the thing that I was doing. I was basically ripping off a whole bunch of, poor people, and he brought me in under his wing, and he was the original, or at least a Ramshackle crow, and I took his mantle when he passed.
Awesome, cool. You're caught up in your reverie thinking about Ramshackle the Third, or whichever Ramshackle he was.
Yeah, who knows how many Ramshackles there were.
Who knows? You're kind of caught up in your reverie when Urbina spins around and kind of puts her arm over your chest and presses you both up against the wall. Okay, like she saw something. Right? You're very near the end of the corridor, almost to the central area that connects the two different corridors that we've described. She says, she kind of holds her finger up to her lips and says, and then she motions, and you see that there in that big connecting room at the end of the corridor is one of the temple priests in the silvery white robes, okay? And it's a little unclear what he's doing, but he's definitely looking around. He must have some sort of sense that someone's here, or maybe he saw that the secret door up above was molested or something like that. But what do you do?
So it seems like he's looking around. I'm going to just try and keep an eye on him and see if maybe he's gonna go away. Maybe.
You're very flat up against the wall, and as long as you stay underneath the torch, where the shadow is, because the torchlight goes out in a certain angle, or a certain array, he may not see you. But I'd like to know what you do specifically to make sure that if he just kind of pokes his head down the hall, he won't see you guys.
Seems like this isn't going to go great. I think I'm just going to ambush him. And here's what I want to do. I want to find a loose stone fragment or something nearby, and I'm going to throw it past him so that he hears it and looks that way. And then I want me and Urbina to jump him.
Sounds good. Do a defy danger with intelligence for quick thinking.
All right, and I got the middle result.
We were just talking about this last episode, weren't we? The rock, it definitely distracts him, and you will definitely be able to sneak up to him as you try to jump him as you planned. The problem, though, is that you're going to get up close to him, but that's when you're going to realize that there's someone else coming down the stairs.
I throw it, and Urbina hangs back, and I rush forward because I didn't have time to tell her this is what I'm about to do. So I throw it, and then I run up, and I grab the guy around his shoulder and around his neck, and I put my knife to his throat, and I see the shadow of someone else coming down the way, and I pull him quickly to the side of the door. So as soon as that whoever's coming gets through the door, they're going to say I've got a hostage. Is he all the way in the room yet? Before I make the judgment?
I think it's probably at the threshold.
I say, don't make a sound or your friend gets it. And then I start backing up slowly into the room to try and get him to follow me.
He says, "Friend, there is no call for the spilling of blood on a high holy day such as this one. Please release my brother, and we shall say nothing of your presence here to anyone."
Indeed, you shall say nothing to anyone. Please step this way, or I'll be forced to make a very unfortunate situation happen on your high holy day.
Go ahead and roll parlay.
So I got an 8.
I will certainly I will certainly step in, and I will say nothing, but please let my brother go.
As he steps into the room, kind of motioning him towards the corridor that we just came from, I push his friend at him, and I say, all right, so here's how this is going to work. You're going to keep walking that direction, indicating the hallway that we just came from. When you get to a panel that's on the floor surrounded by powder, you're going to smash it with your foot. Then you're going to wait for help. All right?
I'm afraid I can't do that, friend, because that would mean the death of me and my brother, and I think you know that.
I do not know that. I think that it would just mean you and your brother getting stuck inconveniently, as opposed to me sliding my blade across both of your throats right now.
He starts to look a little uncomfortable.
Listen, you can take your chances with the trap, or you can take your chances with the edge of steel. I'm kind of shepherding them that way.
Got it. Okay. He does it, and he steps on it, and the walls drop down.
Yeah, there's a wall between me and them now. I don't have to deal with them.
Yep.
All right, Urbina, that was a close call. Let's get out of here before they make too much of a racket or alert the snake or something.
As you're having that conversation with Urbina, you hear the heavy clang, 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 clang of that central grate in the circular room. What do you do?
Oh. Well, so much for getting out of here before there was a snake.
And indeed, you see rising up out of that central grated area a huge, massive snake. Its scales appear to be like you can see like the torchlight like glimmering like wildly off its scales. It almost looks like a disco glitter ball, right? It's that sort of thing. As the light hits its mirrored scales. The thing is just massive. It has a head the size of like an ottoman. Okay, it's really big, and it's flicking its tongue out at you, and it's heading in your direction. What do you do?
Ugh. Glance back at the wall, the newly formed wall just behind me. Glance back at the silvery snake.
Urbina,
and then I look up at the...
Urbina's like, what are we going to do, Ramshackle? Quick.
And then I look up at the grates that are in the wall above us, and I say, we're going to have to go in the walls. Quick, Urbina, and I cup both of my hands together to give her a leg up into the grates.
Do a defy danger intelligence for quick thinking.
I got a 6.
Go ahead and mark XP.
All right.
You give Urbina a boost. So just to remind the audience, there are, on the sides of the walls in these corridors, there are the smaller circular grates that can be pulled back, and there's like a crawl space in the walls, right? We know that the snake also goes to those crawl spaces. Urbina, you give her a boost up, and she gets inside, but it's too late for you, though. The snake has made its way there into the hallway, and it strikes. What do you do?
Like it strikes like it's attacking me, or like it wrapped around me, or...
Like striking with its head, like you see its fangs like whip out, and it's just like flying at you.
Okay, I'm just trying to dive out of the way.
Do a defy danger with dexterity.
Okay, that's a 12.
Okay, go ahead and give us some fiction there.
Just as Urbina grabs onto the ledge and hoists herself up, the snake strikes at me, and I manage to just drop to my hands and knees, but beneath its strike, it kind of goes over top of me, and I can feel its sinuous body along my back, but its head just struck the wall, and it might be slightly disoriented for a minute, maybe.
You can quickly tell that it's moving. It's using its body to kind of corral you out of the corridor into the central space. What do you do?
Okay. I think that's fine. I'm gonna...
And you can hear Urbina. She's crying out, "Ramshackle! Ramshackle!"
Say, go through the wall and meet me out here. And I'm moving towards the central chamber.
Yeah, and so the snake is just kind of coiled all around this central circular chamber. It's very thick. It's thick like a tree trunk, right? It kind of reels back, and it's kind of like staring down at you. It's kind of like reared back a little bit, in that very, very like Conan-esque sort of way, right? Like giant snake staring down at, small little man. And, but you notice it starts to like move and undulate, and its scales appear to be like catching, but not just catching, but like absorbing the light all around. Like the room is starting to get like a little bit dimmer as the light seems to be drawn like into the thick scaly body of this snake, and it's getting darker and darker, and you can hear You can hear Urbina like crying out, like crying out your name, like Ramshackle, Ramshackle, and all you can see is just the glittering of the snake's eyes as the room gets dark, and its tongue flicking, and just a little bit of spittle dribbling off its fangs. You're perceiving that the light is all being absorbed by the snake's mirror-like scales, right? But you start to realize that it's really just like kind of like it's sort of a hypnosis going on. Like your vision is sort of tunneling a little bit. The sort of dazzling, like glowing radiance of the scales is messing with your head a little bit, right? Give me a plus intelligence roll.
Yes, 7.
You're going to basically manage to shake off this sort of strange hypnosis that's going on, but you're going to have a -1 forward as you sort of clear your head. Do you want to just describe how that feels to Ramshackle?
Yeah, so I'm staring up at the snake. It's looming over me very menacingly, and the room, it seems like it's getting darker and darker and darker, and it seems like its eyes are getting brighter and brighter and brighter. I managed to actually think about it, and that's what saves me, is most creatures that would be in this situation aren't capable of thinking quite like a man can think, and the snake would just devour them instantly if that had been the case. But fortunately, I managed to think about how snakes act in the wild right when this is happening, and I managed to close my eyes long enough and just roll to my side so that my eyes are no longer locked with his, and the room, as I open my eyes again, is completely lit.
Nice. What do you do? I
shout to Urbina, "Urbina, jump on his back and stab him, do something!"
So Urbina, you see Urbina crawling along on the walls, right? Because we know that this little crawl space is along the walls, and yeah, there are higher spots with the circular metal grates that she could kind of pop out of and do that if she needed to. You see her. She's looking a little hesitant, though. Are you going to try to like push her on? Like, she doesn't seem like she's not sure why she should sacrifice herself for you right now. What do you say?
Yeah, I think I'm just having to dodge the snake that's lunging at me right now as it's all its attention is focused on me, and I'm just shouting up to her, "Urbina, do it now! This is the one chance we have!"
Roll plus loyalty to force her to do this.
What's her loyalty? Her loyalty 0?
Yes.
Oh, no! I got a 5.
She's not having it. And in fact, yeah, she's hesitating. She's hesitating and she's not into it. And I think you're looking at her and you're like, come on, Urbina, like, help. And the snake just just strikes like really fast at you. He strikes out and like slams his body, pins you up against the wall, and just sinks his fangs into you. You take a D10 plus 2.
Okay, so that's 5.
He's got you kind of pinned up against the wall, and he's very thick. He's thick like a tree, and so his body's kind of pressed you up against the wall, and he's kind of reeling around to take another strike at you with his fangs. What do you do?
So I'm pinned?
Yep.
Okay. Are my arms free?
Sure. What are you gonna try to do?
I'm gonna try and pull out one of my throwing daggers applied with the sleeping oil of Tadget, and I'm gonna try stabbing the snake repeatedly to try and knock it out before it can kill me.
Okay, nice. Defy danger strength.
It's a 6!
Oh no. I'll let you describe ineffectively stabbing at the snake. How's that go?
The dagger's just too small. His scales are too thick. It won't pierce.
And he's got you pressed up, and he sunk his teeth into you once, like just a quick strike that punctured you on the shoulder a little bit. Now that he's got you pinned, he's like kind of taking measure of like where precisely he needs to strike, right? And he does. He goes like straight at like your head and shoulders. Take another D10 plus 2.
Oh, it's 7. Oh no. I'm out of hit points.
Oh no. Oh no.
Urbina, why?
Okay. Describe the Black Gate.
Ramshackle doesn't feel as the fangs puncture him again, and the upper half of his body is inside of the snake's mouth. All he can see is his old master, Cat's Paw. He is across a river. It's a river from his childhood, and he's looking at him with sinister eyes, and he's beckoning him forward with one hand. He's saying, "It's time to come back home now. Time to steal for me again."
Go ahead and roll last breath.
3.
Oh no. Go ahead and pass me on Black Gate. What does it look like?
Ramshackle tries to turn and run, And then out of his old master's hands, chains come flying, wrapping around Ramshackle.
Oh my god, okay.
Dragging him across.
Oh my god.
He screams as the snake swallows him whole.
Oh my god. Okay, we have a little perspective shift here with Urbina Castafiel. Urbina, you are in the crawl space inside the walls. You are at one of the round metal grates in the wall that allow you to look out into the central chamber, and you see the snake attacking Ramshackle, and he was calling out for you, but you hesitated, and the snake just bit down on Ramshackle, and you see Ramshackle's legs twitching, and you feel like that's probably the end of Ramshackle Crow. What do you do?
So, I should have gone out there. I should have saved him. This is all my fault. All for this treasured egg. Was it worth it? These thoughts are racing through my mind, but my hands are still swift to action as I can no longer hesitate. I'm drawing my sword, and I'm getting ready to jump on the snake's back as it's distracted with that unfortunate Ramshackle.
Do a backstab.
6.
Oh no. You jump down, and you attempt to slam your sword to the back of the snake's head, but your sword is not able to pierce the hard, mirror-like scales of the snake's skin, and you kind of just like tumble down to the ground. I think at that point the snake like kind of lifts up, and you see just like a spray of viscera as the lower half of Ramshackle's body like falls to the ground, and the snake has the upper half kind of in his mouth and swallows it down. What do you do right now? Your sword like kind of like got knocked out of your hand and is across the room, and you can't get to it. What do you do?
I think this is it. I can't stand up to this snake. It's too strong. I have to get out of here. I'm going to try and flee.
Do a defy danger dexterity to essentially run away from the snake.
4.
You make a go for the door, and the snake is quite big, and its body like consumes a lot of the room, right? And so with a quick movement, he can kind of position his coils like in front of you, and he does. He does so, and he blocks off the door, and he's rearing back for a strike. The central area, the grate that he popped out of in the middle, that's open. You could dive down there. That's a possibility. Just so you're aware. You're starting to get though a little the sort of strange dazzling effect on the scales of the light as he moves is becoming really intense. And I'm going to give you a -1 forward as you kind of cope with that as well. So what do you do now?
I'm going to try and roll along the floor into the hole to try and avoid it as best I can.
All right, do another defy danger dexterity.
6.
You do not make it. The snake strikes out and grasps you like sinks his fangs into your leg. You take a d10 plus 2.
10.
You are bleeding out. You cry out. What are you thinking right now? What's going on through Urbina's head?
This is just all kinds of wrong. Like, I never should have come to this temple. I never should have tried to seek out this mirrored egg. This was just the worst job that I could have ever taken.
I have a question. What were you seeking the mirrored egg for in the first place?
It was going to be used for a ritual, and this ritual would have been really important to help Urbina's family. They suffer some kind of curse, and this egg was supposed to help with that. But she didn't think that it would be the death of her and the death of, a potential ally and friend.
You are on the ground. You've taken a nasty gash, 2 big giant puncture wounds in your thigh, and actually they're kind of like big nasty flesh wounds as the snake kind of pulls his fangs out of your thigh, right?
Yeah, I think while the snake is that close to me, with its fangs still in my leg, I'm gonna try and pull out a dagger and stab it in the eye
in an attempt to like blind it so you can get away.
Yeah.
Do a defy danger intelligence for quick thinking.
All right, that's a 9.
Go ahead, describe blinding it.
I'm screaming out in pain as it sinks its fang into my leg, but I realize that this might be my last chance. And as it stares at me with its snake eyes, I pull a dagger off of my shoulder and just jam it straight into its eye as it's so close to me.
And it rears back, and you see there's like just a slight gap, but between like its coils and the door that you might be able to jump through. The only way you're going to be able to do that though is if you basically drop all your gear to just just drop your gear and like dive through this little like gap in the door.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go for it.
Do a defy danger dexterity again.
4.
You do not make it. You run up, you're stuck, and the snake whips around, and he just sort of like positions you to basically like coil you. Like he just coils your body up into his, right? He's got you held tight, and he's getting ready to squeeze. You need to escape now. This is incredibly perilous. Like I think this is going to send you straight to last breath if you don't escape. What do you do?
My pack is still laying near enough that I can still reach it. And as the snake has me in its coils and it opens its mouth to try and strike down at me, I'm going to try and throw my entire pack into its mouth. And like I tried to knock out Ramshackle earlier, I have some more oil attached. I've got 3 applications of it in that pack. And if it swallows it, it should pass out really quickly.
Defy danger dexterity.
Snake eyes.
Oof. Describe the black gate for Urbina Castafiel.
I think for Urbina, her black gate is she's at her ancestral home, and it has many, many rooms. They're all filled with people from her past. People who have already succumbed to whatever vile plague she was trying to get this egg to save them from. She sees grandfathers and uncles and cousins, and they're all there, and they're kind of like beckoning her in, like it's welcome. And then she sees her mother is actually there, and she didn't think that her mother was gone. She thought that her mother was still here, but it appears that she may have succumbed to it as well. And her mother's welcome is just almost too much.
All right, the moment of truth. Roll.
Oh, come on. No!
Oh, no. All right, pass beyond the black gate, Urbina.
Urbina looks over her shoulder, and she can just barely make out the faint impression of herself wrapped up in a great, shining, tree-like substance. It seems to be crushing the life out of her. And then she looks forward and sees her mother, and her mother is running towards her with open arms. And Urbina begins to cry and runs forward and embraces her mother.
And then goes back into the house and the door shuts.